Manchester United have set a 48-hour deadline for teams wanting Garnacho. Man United could move for Mathys Tel, who wants United. Rasmus Højlund is effectively on trial to the end of the season as Amorim is unconvinced. Manchester United have also hired an Olympic coach to improve the team fitness. Mathys to Betis and Casemiro want Saudi. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with, let's remind ourselves what a day it was yesterday, where we got the official here we go for Patrick Dorgu. Remind ourselves on the deal, £25.2 million plus 4.2 million in add-ons. Apparently they are not easy or easy add-ons as well. I think that's a good deal. Sky, though, have been saying that Patrick Dorgu is flying to Manchester Airport today. He will be picked up and driven to Carrington to complete a move to Old Trafford from Lecce. So apparently on his way, might even already be here by the time you're watching this video to complete his medical, and then we'll probably get the announcement either later on today or tomorrow. But yeah, all kind of going through. I'm kind of, we'll wait and see around Patrick Dorgu. We need to wait and see how he's a 20-year-old, kind of relatively unproven player, but is exciting, is a kind of good profile of player. So we'll wait and see how he kind of gets on. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And then the other player that we signed yesterday or got the here we go for was Aiden Haven. Now I did mention in last night's video that I'd seen like a bit of a thread around what type of player and profile he is, because it's believed that he's come in and he's going to be seen as a first team player or a backup to Lisandro Martinez, which is really interesting. So we'll run through it, what I kind of seen on the thread. So versatility and skill set. So Aiden Haven is known for his ability to play as a centre-back or left-back, providing Manchester United with flexibility in their defensive lineup. His skills include pace, positioning, anticipation, passing, aerial duels, composure, and physicality, which are essential for modern defensive play. So not bad attributes to have. Haven's potential is rated highly. His attributes suggest he can grow into a dominant and elegant central defender, akin to players like Raphael Varane. With his fit with United, the thread said that Manchester United's interest in Haven aligns with Ineos' strategy of of investing in young players for both immediate squad depth and long-term team building. His capabilities to act like a midfielder in defence, with skills that in build-up play and long passing could complement the team's tactical approach under new boss Ruben Amorim. So that came on a good Twitter thread that I read regarding a profile of player for Aiden Haven, seen as a very, very good modern defender, with the kind of required skill sets, good on the ball, quick, good defensively as well. But then also the thing that I kind of like on this one is that he's got the kind of skills to be both an immediate impact in the squad, but also long-term to build the team as well. Now, that's interesting because the Musketeers were saying recently that there seems to have been a bit of a transfer switch in policy where we're going for, an established player for a position and then a younger backup alternative rather than going for an older profile of player as the kind of backup option. So in a way, we've bought Dorgu, your first choice left back, and then Diego Leon as the kind of backup, rather than going for, like an Eriksen in midfield or a Casemiro, someone at the wrong end of their career as your kind of squad depth. They're going to be looking to buy a first team player in that position, but then supplement it with a younger, promising, up-and-coming player, which is really exciting, and a total change in direction rather than going for like the Cavani's and Ibrahimovic's and these kind of players at the tail end of their career, short-term gaps. They're going to look at like the cheaper, kind of younger profiles that actually could develop into first-team players in the future. And I think that's really good because, speaking to my brother-in-law earlier about this, do you know what I mean? That it creates competition, because if you're 20 years old, and yes, you're inexperienced yourself, or you're kind of young, you're in that first team, and you've got a 17, 18-year-old behind you that could develop and take your place, that's going to motivate you to do your best. And the kind of problem we've been having is that we've got players that are just literally sat with their slippers on because they know full well they're going to play. And I think Amorim kind of alluded to that in one of his press conferences as well, where he basically said everybody at United is too comfortable. And I think this will create uncomfortability in a nice way, in a positive way, because you've got that kind of young profile ready to go going forward. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now let's move on to some other transfer news. So let's go through the Rashford stuff. So Barcelona have informed Marcus Rashford's camp that they will only be able to sign him on loan this January if they make a sale before deadline day. That came from Graham Bailey. Chris Wheeler said that Borussia Dortmund have come up with the best package if Marcus Rashford would be more open to a move to the Bundesliga. Tottenham, West Ham, Dortmund, Juventus, Napoli and Galatasaray are the clubs interested in Marcus Rashford if a move to Barcelona does not materialise. I would kind of rule Napoli and Juventus out of that one, because Juventus have signed Moani on loan. Plus, we know Napoli are looking at Alejandro Garnacho, but by all accounts, Marcus Rashford, I think he's holding out for Barcelona. He's going to wait until they try to sell some players to get the money in and wait. And if it doesn't, then maybe he would pick one of the other clubs that are kind of lower on his priority. Ben Jacobs said that Al Hilal have made an approach for Marcus Rashford. The Saudi club are looking to take advantage of Barcelona struggling to do the deal. But we know Rashford wants to stay in one of the European big leagues because he's got aspirations of getting back into the England team. So we'll have to kind of, I would say, take that story with a pinch of salt. We'll wait and see what happens, though. But, that would be an ideal situation for us as a club, because big money, they can pay his wages and all of that stuff. But it's whether Marcus Rashford would want that move, which I don't think he does. But I'd keep an eye on it for you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, another player that's linked heavily with an exit is Alejandro Garnacho. So Manchester United have decided they will only entertain sanctioning Alejandro Garnacho's exit if Chelsea or Napoli make a formal proposal in the next 48 hours. So that came from Dean Jones, who's a decent source, saying that United have ultimately given clubs a 48-hour deadline to say, right, if we don't hear anything from you in the next 2 days, we're just going to keep him, which is right, because we've got to still try and get a replacement. If you kind of let Garnacho go, it's going to leave us massively light up front in the forward areas, because obviously Anthony's gone on loan. Rashford, I don't think he's going to play even if he stays, going off of Amorim's kind of recent comments and everything that's going on behind the scenes regarding him. So then if you let Garnacho go, that's just absolute suicide in an area of the pitch where we don't have bodies and we're struggling anyway. So I like the fact they've given them a kind of ultimatum and a bit of a deadline. Now, the Daily Mail was saying that Chelsea are willing to bide their time for Alejandro Garnacho. The deal could go down to the wire, but we've had a really credible Repubblica, a good Italian outlet. They've got like 3.3 million followers. We're saying that Napoli want to finalise a deal with Manchester United for Alejandro Garnacho in the next 48 hours. So that coincides with the story that Dean Jones said about a 48-hour deadline. So apparently Napoli are trying to get a deal done within that kind of 48-hour period. So it could be an interesting couple of days. Obviously, we've got a match tomorrow and then Friday. So Friday could be an interesting day regarding the kind of transfer situation. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, another player that we're looking potentially to bring in would be Mathys Tel. So Manchester United are considering entering the race for Mathys Tel if Alejandro Garnacho or Marcus Rashford leave. That came from Florian Plettenberg. Now, all of this came about because Fabrizio Romano, so the situation with Tel, reading between the lines, is that he's not getting game time at Bayern Munich. He's had a chat with Vincent Kompany at the start of the January transfer window to kind of say, look, I want kind of minutes and game time. And apparently they had a conversation and it was decided that Tel would stay because he's been linked with Chelsea. But apparently he's not played any minutes or hardly played any minutes since, so he's now changed his mind. And Romano said yesterday that apparently he's now open to leaving, which has kind of caused a bit of a stir. And then Florian Plettenberg is obviously linked in with United. Romano said, though, Mathys Tel's decision to depart from Bayern Munich, exclusively revealed last night, has sparked interest from various clubs, including Chelsea and other Premier League clubs, but no specific mention of United. Sport Bild, though, who a good German source, said that Manchester United, Tottenham and Arsenal were interested in signing Mathys Tel. He has made it clear he doesn't want to join Chelsea because of the competition situation. He wants to play. So apparently he wants to go somewhere where he's guaranteed first team minutes and in the squad. Obviously, Chelsea have a lot of forwards and a lot of them just sit on the bench and don't really play. So it's just another body to add to their mix of already they've got what 40 players still or something in their squad, something ridiculous. So he's like, maybe I don't want to go to Chelsea because I do actually want to play football, which is really interested. And then this kind of update. So this has been posted by some very good aggregator accounts. It's a journalist called Paul O'Keefe, who's somebody I'm not really familiar with, but apparently a tier 1 journalist, has said that Mathys Tel wants to join Manchester United. Now, I don't know that for definite, whether they're a good journalist, not one that I've came across before, but apparently really good, specifically for Tottenham. Now, the reason why specifically Tottenham is because this was in a response to a post that came out linking Tottenham with Mathys Tel, and he replied in the comments saying, no, apparently Tel wants to join United, and that's where it's kind of came from. So that's potentially why it's a journalist that I've never really heard of, because apparently they are tier 1 when it comes specifically to Tottenham news. Arsenal are linked as well, but that could potentially be an option. It's just for me, I don't know about Tel. Like, I've researched and watched. I remember we were linked with him like last year in the summer as well. And, good option. It looks like a very talented young player, but is it a talented young player that we need up front when we've already got, Højlund and Xerxes very young? Like, I'm not convinced, I've got to be honest. I mean, I would accept it if United did it alone with an option to buy, or I think there's some talk around a 40 million euro transfer fee potentially, but again, we'd have to sell Garnacho or loan Rashford to maybe get the funds available to purchase him. But I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely convinced whether that's the right kind of option. Obviously, like I said, I back it. I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything like that. It's just, I'm a little bit mixed on it. I need convincing. So get in the comments, convince me that that's a good signing, or let me know if you agree. If you're not entirely convinced by Mathys Tel, let me know down below, because I'll listen to your opinions when it comes to that deal. Now, there was obviously news yesterday regarding Rasmus Højlund. So Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim is unconvinced by Rasmus Højlund and could even let the striker leave at the end of the season. Now, that came from The Sun. I would say take that one with a pinch of salt, but it's not the first story we've heard regarding potentially Rasmus Højlund being under the kind of microscope at the moment. Alex Crook from TalkSport said Rasmus Højlund will effectively be on trial between now and the end of the season. Ruben Amorim has been far from convinced by the player, and to be fair, his performances haven't exactly been convincing either. But Amorim in his press conference did kind of praise his attitude and stuff like that as well. So, but they're not from the most credible sources. The Sun and Alex Crook from TalkSport, I would say take with a pinch of salt, but it's not the first time that we've heard, like the news I broke to you yesterday was around Højlund potentially United wanted to sell him to AC Milan, Juventus, and he is kind of under the microscope at the moment, and his form suggests that there's something not necessarily going on, but he does need to improve his form because he's not been anywhere near as good enough over the last few weeks. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And let's run through the other kind of bits of news. So Casemiro rejected a move to Roma earlier this transfer window as he wants to move to Saudi Arabia. Now, that came from actually a really credible source, which is weird because the reports have always been that he doesn't want to go to Saudi, but then is it because the Saudi clubs don't want him? Because by all accounts, they're looking for like an attacking midfielder to kind of come in. They have freed up some room, though, because Neymar's just had his contract terminated in the Saudi Pro League to go back to Brazil. So, that's maybe one that they could come back in for. Ronaldo, by all accounts, wants him. So whether he'll hold any weights in the kind of transfer dealing, who knows? But that's from Paul Hurst from The Times, who's a good source. And obviously there was rumours yesterday about Roma potentially coming in for Casemiro on a potential loan. So we'll have to see how that one develops. But let me know what you think in the comments. I do think Casemiro is a player that they want to remove purely because he doesn't fit the profile that we're wanting in the team, doesn't fit Amorim's style of play, and he's on an absolute wedge. So I do think they would look to remove him, even if it's a short-term loan where a club pay some of his wages. That still does help us because it's either pay him 350 grand a week to not really play, or you pay, 250 grand a week and you save 100 grand a week in wages that you can use to help with PSR rules. So it's one of these with Casemiro, isn't it? But let me know what you think in the comments. And then there was some reports yesterday regarding Malaysia. Now that we've got Dorgu coming in, what's going on with his future, potentially a loan. We've had some good Dutch outlets in the past suggesting that he's ready to leave on loan. Now, Tyrell Malacia has been offered to Real Betis. That came from AS, who are a good Spanish source, and Sky said the same thing. Real Betis have made inquiries to Manchester United for Tyrell Malacia, so that's an interesting one. Could be joining our other very talented Brazilian winger who's currently on loan with Real Betis, so Malacia, so they could, that would be good move for He just needs to go somewhere and play football, doesn't he, and rediscover his fitness and form and see actually how is he, because he had so much time out, it's impossible to kind of come and hit the ground running. He needs to play games in order to refine his form, and then hopefully that could be one that we maybe move on in the summer. Now, another player we've been linked with on loan, Nkunku. Manchester United is still in contact with Chelsea for Christopher Nkunku. Now, that came from a decent source, but the reports are Romano was saying that apparently Nkunku doesn't want just a straight loan. He wants to go somewhere with either an obligation to buy to kind of protect his future as well. But again, we're getting late in the transfer window now. We'll have to see what kind of develops over the next few days. I think it could be a pretty frantic weekend. I imagine with like transfers, because obviously the deadline is Monday. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. There's been a few kind of online rumours about Paul Pogba coming back. Sky have said that Paul Pogba's representatives have been approached by a number of clubs in the Premier League. There's loads of online rumours regarding Pogba coming back and stuff as well from like some aggregator accounts and posts and stuff. At the moment, there's no kind of real credibility in that. It is something I'm paying attention to, though, because sometimes there is no smoke without fire, but it's just more, I think, rumours and, would you take him back? And I suppose the question is, would you take Pogba back on a free transfer? I mean, he's a good player, isn't he? But does he fit the profile of what we're kind of looking for? Like the thing about Pogba, great, unbelievable player on the ball, and yes, would improve the team because, he is a very, very talented player. And sometimes going through life events like he has can humble you. And I think maybe he has been humbled by the ban and everything that's happened with his brother and stuff like that as well. So actually you might now get a firing Paul Pogba who's not being distracted by the off-field stuff and, all the attention and stuff like that as well. So you might get a Pogba that's actually like, that's actually kind of like more mature almost in a way on the pitch because he knows his career is short and you have that kind of scare. But then, with the questions around while he was here, not about his work rate, and him not tracking back and not marking runners and stuff, and would that fit in an Amorim system? Let me know in the comments what you think. And then for Charhez, who I would say take with a massive pinch of salt because they're one of the most unreliable sources out there, but for some reason they always get reposted by aggregator accounts, have said that Brahim Diaz is another name on Manchester United list for the summer transfer window as they prepare to make a lot of changes, especially in attack. That would be a decent option to play as one of the kind of, the double tens behind the kind of striker. But yeah, not from the most credible source. So I would say bucket of salt needed for that one. I will keep an eye on it for you. If there's any more credibility around it, then I'll update you on it. And then the final story I've got for you is that Manchester United draft in Harry Mara, Olympic track and field coach, to assist staff with expertise on running. Mara has been at Carrington and in the director's box at Old Trafford working as a consultant for a few weeks. Mara, 78, has been present at Carrington to lend his expertise to staff, partly on the best way to cover ground with speed and endurance due to the emphasis on high intensity in Ruben Amorim's system. Now, that came from Laurie Whitwell, so Ruben Amorim is not messing around. He's literally hired a Olympic coach to come in and train the players to run. They must be absolutely like shitting themselves with everything that's going on with Amorim. He's like, right, you're going to start running. We've got somebody that's coming in around running style and intensity, an Olympic kind of track and field coach. Do you know what I mean? Plus everything that's going on with his brutality around Rashford and stuff like that as well. Like there's nowhere to hide, is there, under Ruben Amorim? But it is something that we need to massively improve because we know we've been one of the unfittest or most laboured team in the league for a while. So fair enough if you have to get external people and experts in to try and crack the whip and get these players to run and, help them with their endurance and intensity and stuff, then I am all for it. Every little helps, in my opinion. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.